Are you a Filipino in Canada or Europe looking for a premium property here in the Philippines, one that offers world-class design, green living, and long-term value? Then stay with me because this community has everything you've been working for. You spent decades in Canada or Europe building skill, reputation, and a family with 2 passports. The addresses change, the leases renewed, and every few years, you pack boxes again. Yet, one line never changed when you spoke to your children and grandchildren. The Philippines is home. Now, it's time to make that sentence permanent. Trava in Santa Rosa gives that permanence form. Not a house and lot package, not a condominium, but sovereign titled estate land. 550 to 750 square meters within Greenfield City's 400-hectare master plan. It is an estate designed to hold its character for decades, so what you establish now will still feel dignified when today's grandchildren are hosting birthdays under the same trees. Coming home is not starting over. It is anchoring everything you achieve abroad to ground your family controls at home. Here, permanence is structured. Boundaries are fixed by government, filings, architectural guidelines protects the streetscape, and minimum cuts prevent crowding. The result is quiet order, defined that lets a family grow without negotiating standards every season. Walk the main boulevard and notice how weed, setback, and underground utilities make everyday scenes grateful. Strollers under shade, a calm drive to the gate, no visual noise. Look outward and see institutions close enough to matter without defining you. Healthcare, schools, and the larger Greenfield City network that keeps the district coherent. Your heirs will remember you not for the numbers of addresses you rented abroad, but for the addresses you established here in the Philippines. Titled, finite, and protected by rules that outlast personalities. They will not need long explanations to friends visiting from overseas, and they will simply say, "This is our family's estate." Prestige for families like yours has never been about louder gates or shinier amenities. Prestige is a standard you maintain. Trava respects that standard with structure that cannot be diluted by future expansions or ad hoc exceptions. When you decide to root your family here, you are not buying lifestyle. You are securing continuity. There are only 2 ways a return can go wrong. You improvise an address and spend years correcting it, or you secure title land first and let everything else follow. Trava was planned for the second path. Within Greenfield City, the estate's role is limited. No keeping commercial edges, no slicings into smaller parcels, no phase tacked on later. The circle is 315 families and stays that way by policy, not by promise. If you are abroad part of the year, the transition is simple. Documentation is handled, titles remain clean, and the design code ensures neighbors protect value. When you step through your gate for the first time, you will feel less like a purchase and more like a handover, from temporary to a home that holds. Coming home deserves a framework, not a mood. Families like yours do not gamble. You align decisions with principles that outlast trends. And here at Trava, those principles are shaped into 5 pillars that carry a return gracefully from someday to now. Pillar 1, titled Estate Land. You are securing ground, not a concept. Trava is a lot-only state, 550 to 750 square meters per home site. So your architecture can mature over time without being trapped in a package. So a title is permanence you heirs can read, frame, and eventually transfer with clarity. Pillar 2. Governance that protects dignity standards hold because they are written, approved, and enforced. Minimum cuts prevent micro-lots. Architectural guidelines shape streets without copying facades. Underground utilities and generous setbacks keep the everyday elegant. Rules here function like quiet guardians, preserving value while staying out of your way. Pillar 3. Scarcity by policy. Exclusivity is not a headline at Trava, it is a boundary in the plan. The estate sits inside Greenfield City's 400 plus hectare master plan with a fixed role and a fixed circle. 315 families total, no expansion. And that number is part of the filing record, which means your heirs inherit a neighborhood that will not be diluted later. Pillar 4. Institutions within reach. Prestige is pointless if daily life is inconvenient. In Santa Rosa, healthcare and education anchors are close enough to rely or fair enough to keep your estate quiet. That balance, access without intrusion, is the difference between a development and the district that serves you. Pillar number 5. Dignified access and exit. You may spend months abroad or hand decisions to trusted counsel. Documentation is clean, due diligence is transparent. Entry is selective, exit remains orderly. How it begins is straightforward. Your introducer schedules a briefing, we align on intent and timing, you walk the estate, your counsel reviews the file, you secure the home site for your family's plan. No lotteries, no countdown. They decide under light with documents and time respected. Greenfield City's master planning matters here. The larger district provides coherence, road networks that work, commercial zones that sit where they should, and open spaces that keep the residential core human. Trava's place inside the larger order is deliberate. Residential excellence with memory, it is how permanence stays livable and how your return stays yours. Scarcity by itself can sound like a tactic. At Trava, it is a design constraint, not negotiable, not seasonal, and not the kind that disappears when marketing changes its mind. The estate sits inside Greenfield City's 400 plus hectare master plan with a defined function, a limited, lot-only, residential community whose standards and boundaries are filed, approved, and built against. In practice, that means two numbers shape everything. A circle of 315 families and minimum cots of 550 square meters. The cap prevents crowding by population. The cots prevents crowding by architecture. You never wake to a surprise re-slice of lots into smaller pieces. The geometry is fixed. Protection runs through every layer. Streets are sized for calm movement. Setbacks, height guidance, and underground utilities keep the visual field clean. So value grows by composition and not by sprawl. This is how well-governed estates endure, by removing the temptations that cause later dilution. The permanence is backed by filings, not slogans. A DSUD-approved master plan locks the estate's purpose. Rights of way and easements are measured, drainage, lighting, and frontage are engineered for a specific density. You will not see a mid-rise experiment on a corner lot or a retail strip inching toward the gate. Trava remains what the title says, residential estate land. Think of the decisions that require stability, planting trees that need a decade to canopy, commissioning an architect for a multi-phase home, planning a studio, library, or pavilion to host milestones. These choices only make sense when the surrounding frame stays consistent. By limiting what can change, the estate frees you to pursue what should endure. The cap of 315 families is not an alarm to hurry. It is a statement that the shape of the neighborhood will not swell to absorb one more buyer. Take the time a serious decision deserves, confident that your eventual home will sit within a plan designed to read as a neighborhood decades from now. Scarcity, proportion, and governance. 3 parts of the same sentence. The map you study today is the map your heirs will recognize. In an age of moving targets, that certainty is the rarest amenity of all. Prestige isn't declared with a banner. It is revealed by how people arrive. Here at Trava, neighbors do not assemble through open houses and mass events. They arrive through introduction, counsel, and a process that respects privacy. The result is a community selected by method rather than volume. Families who value the same long view as you do. How does that look in real life? A daughter who practiced medicine in London returning to build a practice near her parents. A couple who run a transport firm in Vancouver choosing a corner lot where grandchildren can bike without crossing arterial roads. An engineer who spent 20 years across the Europe building power infrastructure, now planning a home with a workshop and a quiet study for writing. Their careers differ, their posture toward permanence is the same. The filtering begins before any site walk. Many families engage advisors, private bankers, accountants, or family lawyers who align documentation, verify structure, and confirm fit. The briefing is private, the file is complete, and the timeline follows the family's calendar rather than a sales cycle. When a reservation is made, it is usually the last step of deliberate sequence and not the first impulse of a weekend tour. Because minimum lot costs are substantial and the design code asks for coherence. Everyone arrives expecting to be a good neighbor, and that expectation is not a slogan, it is built into the standard. So there is room to design a signature home, but within a vocabulary that keeps the street elegant. And over time, this produces not sameness but harmony, the kind of visual civility that makes a neighborhood feel resolved rather than improvised. Social life takes on the same tone. It is not loud or performative. It is the quiet strength of families who have worked hard elsewhere and now prefer ease to spectacle. A late breakfast on a shaded terrace, a birthday in a garden, a conversational that ends without raised voice because the place itself whispers enough. You will recognize the sensibility even if you have never met the neighbors. You have lived it for years. Framed by Greenfield City, the estate keeps this cadence even as the wider district grows. When paths cross, at a clinic, a cafe, a school drop-off, they feel neighborly, not crowded because home remains truly residential. Real security is not a guard at a gate. It is the set of decisions that make the guard's job uneventful. Trava was built around that idea. Governance here works like good engineering, mostly invisible, always present, and obviously only when you notice how little friction daily life contains. Start with the plan. Streets have width you fill without measuring. Corners breathe, and slightliness stay open because setbacks and height guidance keep facades in conversation with trees, not in competition with them. Utilities run underground, so views are of sky and canopy, not wires. Stormwater has a path lighting with a purpose. Signage whispers instead of shouts. And these are all small choices individually, but together they turn routine days into calm ones. Then consider standards. Minimum lot cuts prevent the kind of density that pushes neighbors into each other's lives. Architectural guidelines maintain coherence without dictating taste. You can commission home that is unmistakably yours and it will still contribute to a street that reads as a composed whole. Over years, that discipline preserves value better than any amenity list ever could. Security takes the same measured approach. Access is controlled, protocols are professional, and presence is discreet. The system favors prevention over reaction perimeters, intelligent routing, and staff trained to keep interruptions rare. When something needs attention, it is handled without ceremony and without broadcasting someone else's day. Proximity matters too. Here in Santa Rosa, you are near modern healthcare and reputable schools but not on top of them. The district's master planning lets you reach what you need quickly while keeping the estate's interior quiet. Emergencies can be met with speed. Ordinary life proceeds without constant traffic past your windows. Operations follow the same discipline. Budgets are transparent, reserves are planned, vendor standards are documented so landscaping, lighting, and road care do not depend on ad hoc decisions. Covenants are clear, dispute paths are defined, and communications are steady rather than loud. For families who may be abroad part of the year, that predictability is a form of service. Your estate functions smoothly without requiring your constant presence. Finally, remember that none of this is accidental. The estate sits under a DSUD-approved master plan inside Greenfield City larger framework, so the promises live in documents as well as in scenery. Governance here is not a mood. It is a set of choices made early so your family can live confidently for a long time. Every serious portfolio has one benchmark. Does it survive transition? Not just market cycles, but family succession. Your Canadian equities, taxed 27% on gains. Your London property, exposed to 40% inheritance duty. Your Milan assets, reporting, compliance, deductions. Each transition takes piece by piece from what you built. But titled Philippine land works differently. Estate tax is 6% flat. Title transfers remains clean under Philippine law. Structures are simple. Heirs are direct. No convoluted trust, no multi-jurisdiction reporting, no third-party erosions. This is why family offices in Toronto and Geneva treat Trava not as real estate but as an allocation. 10 to 15% of net worth rebalanced into an asset that compounds outside Western government reach. Government makes it permanent. These would lack supply, no expansion, no dilution. Architectural discipline keeps neighbors aligned. Institutions like schools, hospitals, global firms anchors permanence, and appreciation follows policy, not chance. In year 2018, 24,000 per square meters, 53,000 per square meters for year 2025, and projection by 2030 is 90,000 per square meters. Not lifestyle hype, math from scarcity, infrastructure, and institutional demand. Think of it in inheritance terms. 40 million in Trava estate to 37.6 million to heirs. 40 million Canadian or UK asset to 28 to 31 million net after tax. That's 7 to 9 million per generation compounds into 9 figures within 50 years. Your legacy is not measured by how you live, but by how cleanly it transfers to those who follow. You've lived the global career arc. 1 decade in Toronto finance, another in Milan operations, a third in London partnerships, and maybe the next, it could still be abroad. The problem is most real estate locks you geographically. Buy in Europe and you anchor yourself to compliance regimes and local residency. Buy in North America and succession drags through complex structures. But Trava doesn't demand residency. It secures permanence while you remain mobile. Whether you extend abroad until 2030, repatriate in 2026, or split time between continents, the estate holds clean, titled, permanent. For example, scenario A, you stay in Toronto 10 more years, and that's perfect. Your Trava estate appreciates while your portfolio compounds abroad. Scenario B, you return early for health or family. Your home base is waiting. Scenario C, your heirs inherit before you transition. Succession remains intact. That's why global professionals treat Philippine land as career insurance. It protects options, it ensures family identity, and it diversifies without forcing relocation. Trava isn't about moving back. It's about never losing your base, no matter where the world takes you. Neighbors define permanence. Here at Trava, peers are not random. They're filtered through process. Current title holders include a London banker with 200 million plus global portfolio, a Toronto healthcare executive managing family office structures, a Milan principal with multi-jurisdiction holdings, a Vancouver entrepreneur with liquidity across currencies. These families didn't buy homes. They positioned wealth into 550 to 750 square meters of titled Philippine estate land. These families didn't buy homes. They positioned wealth into a 550 to 750 square meters of titled Philippine estate land. Why? Because governance, scarcity, and succession math beat lifestyle promises every time. Prestige isn't gates. Prestige is knowing your heirs inherit neighbors who share your discipline, your standards, your sophistication. Trava enforces this structurally. Minimum lot sizes, decent governance, architectural guidelines. The circle isn't about volume, it's about 315 families maximum. No expansion, no dilution, and when that circle closes, it remains closed. And the question becomes, are your heirs inside or outside? Trava isn't lifestyle marketing, it's sovereign allocation. 550 to 750 square meters titled estate land, 29 million to 44 million entry range, 6% estate tax versus 27 to 40% abroad, 315 families maximum, locked by decent institutional anchors in schools, healthcare, and commerce. Mathematics, not emotion, defines the logic. 40 million estate to 37.6 million to heirs here. 40 million abroad to 28 to 31 million net after government takes its share. That 7 to 9 million per generation compounds into generational preservation. You've built globally, you've preserved wealth across continents. The final step is ensuring your heirs inherit permanence that governments cannot erode. Trava isn't an alternative. It is the continuation of your family's financial discipline anchored in permanence, scarcity, and governance. The circle accepts 315 families only. If your introducer provided the code, request your briefing now. Evaluation is confidential, structured, and by referral. Deploy not with haste but with discipline because permanence is not promised, it is secured. If you're looking for a property like this, one that's not just beautiful but also a smart investment for your future, this is your sign to explore it further. I'll be happy to walk you through every detail so you can see why this community stands out. Once again, this is Giselle of Lavender Lux Estates. See you on my next video.